Hello, Soul Tribe, and welcome back. The boys and I are so excited to do this show today. I have Jacob Ray, and Corbin Collins. So you guys have seen Jacob on my show before, and we've done hypnosis sessions together. And if you've watched the previous one we just did on 3IAtlas, which was quite a popular one, a little bit controversial. And we decided that we wanted to bring Corbin in to have a look at some of the astrology around this. So I just want to say thank you to our Soul Tribe for your love and support and for being here today as well. It's really exciting to be able to dive deeper and bring to you some of our insights that we've had since that session, as well as Corbin's going to look into some of the astrology around it. And we're also going to maybe clear a little bit of the fear porn energy, perhaps at the beginning. Do you guys want to give yourself like a little bit of an intro too? Because Corbin, we haven't had you on my show before.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe I'll just start then. Hey, everyone. My name's Corbin Collins. I'm a Hellenistic astrologer. So I love to practice some of the ancient techniques that are coming into like a resurgence and a revival over the last few years. That kind of builds the base of my practice, but I love to interpret from any sort of lens that I want. Really excited to talk about 3IAtlas and kind of the journey that it's taking throughout our solar system. And shed some light from the astrological lens.
Awesome. Well, we're so excited for having you here. And excuse the chainsaw in the background if you guys can hear it. I know I was getting you boys to listen beforehand. So, looking at some of the comments and things that we've received on YouTube, we've got negative and positive, and majority are positive, and we are offering, I guess, a different viewpoint compared to a lot of the agenda or a lot of the messages that are out there, which are talking more about star family and beings and things being associated with this. I guess what I sort of saw, going back watching it, was I guess being the person in the session too, I really felt that energy of more kind of, and I'm being very careful about the words and things that we choose to use today, but the dark narrative agenda, or kind of like the smoke screen energy. To me, I kept getting a cube kind of 3D building. I kept feeling maybe like 3-letter agencies and things of that sort of nature behind a story. And it's almost like knowing that something astrologically or something coming in, or sensors and that picking up things coming into our atmosphere, or I don't know what you call it, into our galaxy. Let's start with that. That we said in the show about a puppy entering a room, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, look at that monster! Listen to it growl!" That kind of energy. In the things can be portrayed in a certain way. Do you want to maybe expand on your feeling around that, Jacob?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I think we should definitely play that clip for people because it really sums it up well, the puppy analogy. But it was just really interesting to feel, and I say interesting, uncomfortable as well, to feel that energy during the session when you are when you're in session. And the way that I work is very closely with clients' higher selves. And if you guys have watched our sessions before, you know that I always ask to speak with Solreta's higher self. I do the same with my clients, and we really set that intention from the start. And it was very clear as we started to settle in that while the higher self was there was definitely a stronger negative energy that was sort of almost standing between us. It felt like you could feel that sort of watching presence, and it was just very uncomfortable and very gross. And we were like, okay, let's get out of here. We don't need to be in this energy. We can look at this from a different perspective, from a different lens. And once we were able to do that, the energy shifted big time, and you could feel the lighter energies of the higher self, and it wasn't that dark, miry feeling.
Yeah, and I think that's such a good way to put it. And for myself, having visited Area 51 and places, that have a different energy about them, it reminded me of that. So that feeling of almost like a psychotronic type feeling, a feeling of, okay, we need to get out of here. And sometimes you'll have what's like an energetic tag, or they'll hook into your energetic frequency or signature. So I know, having worked in this field for my whole life, being an experiencer, that it's not something you really want to linger when you're met with that kind of blockade or repulsion type energy. It's not something that I want to open myself up to having hooks and things that I maybe then have to spend a couple of weeks. And for some people, you see them where they're experiencing these hooks for a lifetime. So, it is really about frequency shifting. You guys saw me do that in the session, and we've talked about it in other shows, how to do that. And perhaps that's a whole nother show in itself that we can go into. So let's play this clip. What number was that one?
I was 3.
It's an interdimensional portal, the sun. Higher angelic beings also reside there. It's also, they are wanting us to see them. The name just feels disconnected from what we're seeing. The name, it comes from human minds. It's part of their constructed reality. It's almost like we need to separate the object from the agenda.
You mean the name of 3IAtlas?
Yeah. It's like, oh, we're leveraging on the opportunity of something that was prophesized to return, but we're going to put our agenda, our mask, our costume, and write our story around this to steer people away from the truth and old way prophecies. It's like a puppy entering a room, but you're telling the people seeing the puppy enter the room that it's a dark, demonic monster. And so people forget their own intuition, their own trust. I'm just seeing like fireworks and smoke screens being let off around that little puppy, and just growl noises being pushed. I don't feel fear around it. The only time I feel fear around it is with that room that we were talking about before, with the humanness coming through with their agenda and psyop and program. If we stay in our hearts, we have nothing to fear. This is all about, it's a vibrational checkmate situation. What team are you on? Where is your heart? Where are your beliefs? Are you in the head in fear? Or are you in the heart in trust? Vibrational checkpoint. There's many different fleets. So that was such a great clip. Thank you for pulling that together. And this also, I just want to share with you guys. Let me put this back up. Hold on a sec. It's a lot of hats that we wear doing these shows. Let me just put this one up. Oh, actually, I'm going to pop it up so you guys can hear the sound. That would be helpful. So this one is from Jeremy Corbin. So we've gone deeper down the rabbit hole these last couple of weeks, looking for things that perhaps matched what came up in the session, or things that were just in alignment. And the way that the universe and the quantum field works is that generally they're just sort of brought towards you. So even some of these things, without like looking or having to search for some of them, have just come back up. And also some of the old dreams and things like that I've had too, there's a little bit of a match around some of these. So we won't go into it too much today. It might be more for part 2, but there is a Hopi prophecy that also seems to be very connected with some of the message that has come through. And I still have to get Stephen and Evan's take on the Australian prophecy connection with this. So this one is Jeremy Corbin. So I think it was maybe about 8 months ago that he maybe spoke about, watch out, there's going to be something that slowly enters our atmosphere, and it'll be sort of a smoke screen. But I'll play this here and you'll see sort of a recap that he's talking about.
An undercurrent of intelligence agency individuals trying to, quote, shape the emerging UAP narrative, who have been using this idea of a craft coming to Earth to employ individuals to harness their mics, their microphones, and their voices and their commitment. And that's what I was warning people about. That was nonsense. That is a re-emerging narrative that will continue to come. So this might be, in a way, this might be a sort of symptom of what I was warning people about. But it's not directly what I was saying. I mean, this thing's going to come by Earth the closest, I think, November 16th or something. I don't know for sure, but it's not 2027. And also, by the way, when I said, I never actually said the words in the show 2027, there was a range that people were kind of spreading within media and UFO industry, and that was between 2027 and 2036. You know, leave yourself a big ass window if you're telling lies to people. That's what you do. So look, if I'm wrong, we're going to be invaded and it doesn't matter anyway. However, I just want to be really clear, which is that there is this undercurrent from intelligence agencies, and I absolutely wanted to warn people that I thought it was bullshit. I still think it's bullshit, and I think it's a way to harness people's attention, and I think it's diabolical. But this is not exactly what I was talking about.
So let me just turn that one off. So finding that one, I think, was really a great alignment with what we're talking about in the session as well. To me, it really matched up those exact recap of what he originally said. What's your feel on that, guys?
Corbin, you want to?
Yeah, I love how fear and misdirection, all these topics are coming up, especially right now when there's so much Piscean energy in all of the astrology. We have the North Node going through Pisces at this time, but we also have Saturn and Neptune who are, well, Saturn's back in Pisces, Neptune's about to make its final pass retrograde through the last few degrees. And we've been working collectively on these topics for a long time through shedding some of these topics. But the idea that Saturn, the controllers, are tiptoeing back into using misdirection and fear as, a tool at this time very much aligns with what we see going on in the stars. Like I said, though, we've been dealing with this for a while. A lot of the astrology at the beginning of 2025 was about detaching and letting go from this, especially the eclipses that just happened within the last month, really was about letting go of the 3D narrative, letting go of the mass information and going inside and finding the information there. And so there's just so much about, this heavy influence of Pisces that's been happening recently that really feels appropriate for this entire discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. And with that, I noticed even this morning, waking up, there was almost this distinct separation feeling, picking up my phone, which is not the best habit, but, you can get into scrolling. There was almost this kind of repulsion type energy of, ooh, I just want to put it down. I'm so over the synthetic or searching outside. There really does feel energetically that there's a shift happening, especially this week, to go within and to really try and separate ourselves from distraction. And I think that matches up quite well with the session too. Does that match up with some of the astrology at the moment, Corbin?
Well, if you think about the, Pisces and the two fishes and this spectrum of fear versus love as well, too, this is a sign that really gets to experience kind of all of that. And so having this choice between the two is very much in the cards for this time, being able to let go of that misdirection, that fear, and realize that the truth of Pisces is that we are all one, right? Pisces is about getting into that higher spiritual realm where we all are connected. But if you are, eating up the misdirection, your Pisces will believe that you are separate, will believe that you are own, and will kick off all of those fears then. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And do you want to add something to that, Jacob?
Yeah, I mean, this whole message, it's just always beautiful for me when the same messages come through again and again. And I almost pulled some clips from TJ's session that I released a few weeks ago as well, because so much of it just tied directly into and bolstered the message from your higher self as well. And that's one of the things that really, proves it to me when we have those synchronicities and those similar messages coming through very disparate people who have no connection to each other, and yet their higher selves are saying the same exact thing. And that is because our higher self is that part of us that's still connected with source and connected with the collective. And so in some ways they are the same higher self. It's a little more complicated than that because they're speaking through you, and there is that individualization. But we had talked previously before the show, Solreta, about kind of the distinction between higher self and other entities or other energies, and the ways that I've talked about this extensively on my channel, the ways that we can see and we can tell that our higher self is coming through versus something else. And there's a feeling with that. And you as the client, you can tell when it's your higher self versus when it's something else. You can tell by that love. You can tell by that familiarity. It feels like a part of you. It doesn't feel like this external, energy. And I think along with that, the fear versus love has just been coming up so much. And I really think that we're being given so many opportunities to choose, and so many opportunities and examples to look at and say, okay, which is it going to be? What path am I going to choose? Where am I going to be going? And I just love the way that the higher self talks about this message and this idea, because they say that everyone can choose at any moment. Just because you're on a fear path now doesn't mean you can't choose in an instant to switch to that path of love. Like you have that power, and you will continue to have that power. There's no gates shutting and your final call. We're all here awakening and growing and changing and evolving always. And that will continue. That won't end. So those are some of my thoughts.
Yeah. And I think it's really good to go over higher self. And I think that's what a lot of this energy is, and a lot of the fear porn. I think when we're met with fear, we need to go within and remember the acronym false evidence appearing real, fear. So I think that's, or F everything and run is the other one, which is more buying into the fear. We need to look at the evidence. And I think when we talk about psyops and things like that too, it's the same hypnotic message over and over, or the same sort of agenda. We've seen it time and time again. And not that we watch mainstream news or anything. So I haven't even checked in to see, okay, has this even made it to the mainstream side of things? But yeah, usually you will see almost word for word, whether it's the same number count from the last 5 years where we saw things happening, same number count rising across different countries or across different states. Mm-hmm. You notice that there's certain things that they will do that lets you sort of know, okay, there is something else of a hypnosis type nature that's being broadcast or spellcast, like a dark dream spell, upon the population. So speaking of intuition and higher self and things, another way that we can receive these downloads is in dreams. And Jacob was reminding me about dreams that I had, because I think we maybe talked about this in a session. So with this one, you can see this was August 14th, 2023. And I've just woken up, and sometimes I'll just document it so that I can go back and remember, oh, this happened at this time. So I just said, anyone else having weird meteor shower dreams? In my dream on the 11th of August, I saw rocks on fire in the night sky. It looked almost like lava coming from some. And I saw that, I think it was whether it was in posts and things through the week, where there was in a certain country where it was like fireballs coming from the sky. Other thing I noticed is these little meteors emojis used to actually be orange. When I posted that was orange. So I had a screenshot on my phone that was in orange. Now, all of a sudden, we're seeing it change color to blue. And also when you look into, Atlas and other things that they're saying are coming in, Swan, there's different colors to some of these. And I'm like, well, that's really interesting that like the agenda of the emojis has now changed, or whether we've gone into a different timeline. And this was another dream from March 2024. You guys might hear that chainsaw. That one's pretty loud. So I'll do my best to read. So I woke up this morning to remember a dream that had, it was about Project Bluebeam of some kind of holographic sky show. In the dream, my family and I were captivated by something in the sky, although to me the energy felt false and artificially created. There was no soul energy behind it. The vision was so vivid and full of color, it was easy to remember. In the dream, there were two angels, gold and glowing, descending in the sky with the star, and the angels seemed almost a little rectangle shape. So they were sort of like appearing within a false construct type box. Whereas angels, very much when you see them, and I know some of our beautiful soul tribe have seen them as well, they don't usually appear within a rectangle holographic type format in that way. So I saw a large rectangle, and underneath the angels, which looked a bit like a coffin, and something rising up, returning or resurrecting. It looked like a man, perhaps even representing Jesus returning, which is really interesting if we're looking at this being in the same timeline as people talking about rapture and a lot of the biblical prophecies that are going with this. Because remember, this is back March 2024. I do not have a religious background growing up or anything either. So then in the last part of the vision in the sky was like Disney characters with balloons, etc., holographically projected into the sky. So everyone was blown away by what they were seeing in the sky. It did not feel real to me. I was trying to film this in my dream on my phone, and it felt inauthentic and a bit like humanity was being distracted and deceived by this. The message of the dream felt like it was more about trusting our hearts and using major discernment. So I forgot about this until I was sending, Jacob's like, can you send me those dreams? And I'm reading this going, this is in such alignment with what came through in the message. And the final one is just an update. We might get back into that in a minute, because I just want to hear your thoughts on that, guys.
I think you're muted, Corbin.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Nope,
your sounds disappeared for some reason.
Well, while Corbin checks that out,
Yeah.
It's just wild to me when those synchronicities happen. And I don't honestly, I'm trying to remember exactly what you said. Do you remember what your higher self said around when they were bringing these up, when they were bringing the dreams up?
I can't remember what it was. I just remember, I think I said that Soul's already dreamt about something like that. It'll be on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was really interesting just
Really
to go in. And it was only yesterday that, that you reminded me, and I'm like, oh, quick, I better go and search it. And I'm like, there's more than I thought. I thought there was maybe one around media, the meteorite thing.
Mm-hmm.
And there is another one that I had that was first week of January this year, which was almost looking kind of like a nuclear type explosion type thing. But it wasn't. It was some kind of new technology. And I don't think I've said this live in a show. So that actually appeared not long after filming the telepathy tapes shows that I did as well. And I think that was with Phil Rice, who's going to be back on soon. Mm-hmm. And so with that, I actually felt like I was connecting with the children on the hill. So where these kids go to meet telepathically. And it was like 4 to 5 hours in the dreamscape world of them giving me this vision, this message, and just this feeling of this changes everything now. So it was like, I guess when we look to other things that have happened in our lifetime, going back to, I think it was 2001 that we had 9/11 happen. And then we had, a lot of the, this happened and this happened. And that really are landmarks that we sort of see as this point in time. So this explosion type thing that I was being shown in January was also like a really similar, like, okay, timeline feels like it's stopping and everything changes from here.
Mm-hmm. I know. And it's always interesting to get that kind of like preview in dream form or in vision form. And then to see how it ends up playing out. I can't remember, was it Bashar maybe, who someone was talking about predictions and how they're not they're not guarantees. They are possibilities, and that these predictions, even the most doomsday-y. I mean, I think of Nostradamus and some of the horrible things that he saw happening. We don't need those things to happen if we choose a different path. And I think that that's oftentimes why some of these prophetic dreams come through, or these images come in vision form, is to give those of us who either have a platform, or those of us who have the forethought to change things, like give us that opportunity to shift things energetically, to shift things in our world, in our sphere, to choose a different path. And so whenever there are like doomsday type of imagery happening, I'm like, okay guys, we got to focus on the other direction. Let's focus on peace and unity, and a smooth transition, because we definitely don't want to add fuel to the fire, right?
Yeah. And that reminds me of pantomime. When you go see those old stage shows and there's the bad guy walking on the stage behind like the knight in shining armor, or the princess, and the kids are like, look behind you. And like the hero doesn't know, and the bad guy's sneaking up right behind them. It just reminds me of that kind of, pantomime of distraction. So hopefully we have Corbin's sound back. Oh, it's not coming through. That's so bizarre.
Looks like we got some meddling happening here.
Yeah, very, very interesting timing, hey?
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Can we play another clip though?
Yeah, let's do that. What one would you like to play?
Ooh. Honestly, because it always kills me. Let's play clip number 1. The use of the word nothing burger was just my favorite.
Oh, sure. Which is not usually my kind of language. So that was funny as well. And I think we maybe have Corbin back as well. Let's just check if we can hear your sound, Corbin. No. Oh, no. Okay.
What's going on?
I have no idea. That's so bizarre.
I know, and it was working perfectly.
Yeah, it was really, it was fine. There's many different fleets that are watching this game down here, and also have their own agendas. I keep seeing a connection to the Native American people and their star brothers and sisters and their star knowledge. I'm getting shown the Mayan people as well, and their star brothers and sisters and knowledge. They've been around a lot longer than negative agenda. They have a lot more true and accurate information as well. I do feel there was a promise made, especially to the Native American, about their star brothers and sisters returning in a time of darkness to be able to help awaken the masses from this dream. They had to let us reach and awaken to a certain point first. They're also showing me a bit of kind of like with the agenda of the dark side. It's more that they want to grow it on a loose level, whereas it feels almost like a little bit of a nothing burger, but they'll use it to control and to influence their agenda.
So when you mention the ETs returning, and these prophecies, these knowings, is there a connection to 3IAtlas, or?
Yeah, timing. Oh, it's so interesting. It's just because each time I've watched it, I think I've watched it 3 times. It's almost like I go back into hypnosis, and the same with the other sessions. So last night I was consciously taking notes, and that's why it's so good to be able to debrief together, because it's like totally forgot that came through. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Corbin, check. Are you frozen now too?
It's frozen.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh. Oh, he's moving. Oh, we still don't have your sound.
Can you plug in the other mic that we have? Would that work? maybe try that.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
And why we do that, let me share the other dream that we've brought up on the screen. And so with this one, so this was January the 8th. So update to my January post, I've now included the sketch that I drew in the first week of January. And I think that's this one that we were just talking about before, to do with that meeting with the kids on the hill. And yeah, that was the vision. So I've written, what was it? 4th, 5th January 2025, a major event like an explosion, something different. I heard this changes everything. So nothing we had seen before. And then the emotion around it was shock, disbelief, people, community together, a shift in consciousness. And that's what I keep thinking with like what it is that we're looking at the timeline currently for, is that that shift in consciousness. And I won't read this because it is quite long. But yeah, it did really feel like a telepathic, excuse me, connection with with the message. There was such a sense of urgency of we need to get this message out there. And this was interesting because this was right around the time of the California fires, and there was, threat of nuclear things happening not long after this as well. So yeah, it was just, I'm like, no, doesn't feel like that. Doesn't feel like that. This feels much more on a grand world scale of everything has changed. Our thoughts, our reality after this. Yeah. Is there anything you want to add to that?
Yeah. I mean, it will really be interesting to see what continues to unfold with this object's journey, and both what actually happens and also what the narrative says happens. Because it, as Emma says, we certainly do need that shift. And that's where some of these things, while we may not want them to happen, there's still the necessity for those things to happen so that we can get to the next point. And, I'm just reminded of your higher self saying that, we are, oh my gosh, guess I wasn't supposed to follow that thought, when it just flies right out and you're stuck in the middle of a sentence. Yeah. Corbin, are you here? No.
Oh no.
Honestly, come and just join me. Right?
Yeah, that'd be really good.
We'll just
It'd be nice to see you guys on the screen together.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But no, with all of this talk of prophecy, and I feel like we can all feel that we're in this time, we're in this moment where things are shifting, things are sort of up in the air as far as what is possible. I'm reminded of what the higher self said a few weeks ago in TJ's session around when I was trying to press them for a timeline. I was trying to press them for like, okay, well, when is this going to happen? When can we expect ET disclosure to happen, or us to start seeing these beings in real life? And they said, it's hard to say. It's really hard to say because we're in such dynamic time. We are in such a volatile, dynamic energies, and there's so much free will at play where it's still up in the air. It's still up for grabs as far as what we end up choosing and what we end up deciding. And so yeah, I mean, there's some of it where it's like, okay, let's just live life and see how it plays out.
Yeah. And it was so fascinating because I went and watched TJ's session when you're like, okay, TJ's saying really similar things, like their higher self to your higher self. And I watched it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just, it's so crazy when things like that align. It's so nice to see you guys in the same room.
Look at that. we live in the same house.
I think this was meant to be. So yeah, we would love to hear your take around the astrology, Corbin.
Yeah, well, give me a moment to just pick up with the conversation again.
Sorry, you've been in tech world. So we've just been sharing about the dreams and looking at the incredible synchronicities for the times that we're in right now. And I guess what would flow on really well from this would be looking into astrological predictions around the arrival event of the Atlas coming closer to our reality. I think you said you pulled up charts to do with like each of the predictive supposed dates.
Yeah, so like in that through the astrological lens, there's a lot of different moments that you could look at, especially I'm kind of treating this specifically as a comet. So what, was the discovery date of 3IAtlas? What does that chart look like? What can it tell us? But also we look at the closest transit to the sun. And I also wanted to grab the closest transit to Earth. And what I found in all of these charts, even also pulling like its closest transit to Venus or Mars, and when I looked at all these charts together, there was this very large story with the planet Mercury in all of these charts for the days that 3IAtlas is passing all these planets throughout our solar system. Mercury ends up being in a opposition with a planet. And I just think of, comets in general have that idea of a messenger, as someone who's bringing in information. And if we think of this as, interstellar, it's information that's coming from beyond our galaxy. 3IAtlas was first discovered inside of the later degrees of Sagittarius. And if anyone's familiar with the galactic center, that's right where we find our galactic center at like 26, 27 Sagittarius. And so there's something about, first off, this discovery chart of 3IAtlas that gives us this idea that it could be a messenger from spirit, from God, from the higher realms, bringing us information beyond what we like currently understand in our 3D reality. This would be energy from very far beyond. And I think that's why there's so much excitement around it. But if we look at these further kind of charts, when it's passing the Earth, when it's passing the sun, just with this idea of Mercury, I think there's a lot to be said around, what is our role with how we take in information? How are we thinking about this sort of thing? What are we listening to? And at each of those moments, there's like more of the story unfolding. And so, yeah, I just think that as we get closer to the culmination of when it's passing Earth, there really is more and more of a idea around, a lot of mercurial things, just like the information that we take in. What do we do with our minds around that information? We've been talking a lot about kind of putting that aside and finding center at the end of the day. And I think some of those oppositions that I talked about, these are hard aspects. And so usually it's tension like that that causes us to do something differently or think differently or get to a different side of a coin. So I really think that throughout the entire, time that it's in our solar system, our beliefs will really be challenged a lot throughout this.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder, it was loud chain, sorry. And I wonder as well, like if this is also in alignment with the Hopi prophecy in terms of like the old world ending and the new world beginning, because they talk about, visitors like star brothers and sisters returning and things too. So whether it's more communication in that way, yeah, I really would love to maybe dive deeper in our second show on this.
We should. But what's interesting as well is that the information that TJ's higher self was able to share around 3IAtlas was that the physics of it would be in and of itself challenging to our scientists, and it could bring in a fresh perspective, help them to see things in a new way and to shift their mindset. And so even if it's not the spaceship that some people believe that it is, even if it is simply a chunk of matter, I think we could also see that matter being a catalyst for shifts in the information and what we know and what we believe.
When
oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I see in the chat that Emma was just mentioning that I passed by Mars. And so if we look at the chart between when 3IAtlas was passing Mars and what Mercury was doing in that chart just a few days ago, Mercury was in an opposition with Chiron. Chiron's, an outer planet, that kind of connects the inner planets and the outer planets. It's this place where we kind of go between 3D information and 5D information. And there's something about what happened last week and NASA going offline mysteriously, where it's just this moment and it's almost like a choice point again of how am I going to take in this information? Am I going to see it for the surface of what it is? Or am I going to look at this from a different perspective and perhaps, from what my experiences have taught me about this? often when I think about Mercury, there's the facts, right? There's the left brain analytical. But if you go to the opposite side of that, you'd have more of this kind of like Jupiterian energy, which is more guided by experience. And so there's a lot of comments in the chat right now about, yeah, well, I've experienced something, so it's leading me to believe something differently here. And that's exactly what this moment in time is all about.
And I think if we look back to the past narratives around some of those timeline points that we mentioned before, 2001 and what was happening in the world then, we've since found out with a lot of the evidence and a lot of the data and digging and research that what we were necessarily told from officials in that is very, very different to the actual facts of what was happening. And, we see that time and time again where there's the television happening, or the spell casting happening, and then we wake up from that slumber. So I think we're at this critical point in time where we're seeing people actually question things, not just blindly accept. So that comes with weighing up all stories, even the stories that we're talking about, and really seeing what fits in alignment with you guys as well. And I see Christian talking about vibrational tests, and that's what it seemed to be. There was a point in the hypnosis session as well that talked about not so much being in the head, but more coming into the heart. So it is really interesting, because I do find, like, if we break it down and we look at the Mercury energy that you're talking about, Corbin, it's interesting because your heart actually has the same cells or neurons, just like the brain. So whether we're advancing and we're coming into actually using our heart as kind of a brain or a guidance system in that way, and with the double layered gold auras that I'm seeing a few of our beautiful soul tribe and community elevate into, which I've not seen in the past. I hadn't seen that for the previous, probably 43 years, only over the last 2 years. And this is about elevating our consciousness outside of just local hard drive information. And we're ascending into this download more from like higher self, more from kind of like cosmic intelligence. And we're receiving our information and validation from that. So I can see a spiritual alignment that's coming in with some of the astrology that you're talking about too.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the higher self is saying that as well. And, that was one of the things that I wanted to mention when we bring in this idea of talking with the higher self, because I think that sometimes people look at that and they put the higher self, or they put their own higher self on this pedestal of like God status. And that while they are a part of God, there is a lot of nuance to the way that the information channels from them to you, through you. And regardless of if you're watching a session with Soul and I, or you're watching some other person talking, or someone else channeling, like whoever the message is coming from, you need to take that message and you need to say, does that feel good to me? Is that resonating for me? Because there's going to be, there's so much gray in the universe, and there's not one ultimate truth that's coming through the higher self. Like, you need to discern what is true for you and to sit with that for yourself, because that's why we're in this moment of like information overload. Like, you can find any opinion out there, any single one, you can find it out there. You can find someone, and probably more than one person, saying it. So that is your call to say, okay, but what's true for me?
And I feel like the show that I did with Karen on the weekend, so Karen Sajman, my beautiful college teacher, where she's talking about the Cathars, and there's a lot of talk between our soul tribe too, to do with the Cathars and lifetime memories of the Cathars. So for those that are just tuning into this, maybe missed the other show. So the Cathars were these beautiful, highly evolved soul beings that had a vegetarian diet. They worked in one with the land, and they lived more of a peaceful existence. And unfortunately, they were wiped out to try and, I guess, destroy that narrative. But it was prophesied that within 700 years, and I think it was the growth of green on, I think it was a laurel tree, that there would be the return of the Cathars. So I don't know about you guys, but I really feel that we need to activate our auras. We need to activate our chakras, our light bodies, our nadis. And this is why we had the event a couple of weeks ago with our soul tribe around that activation. Or what was it? Soul Tribe Activation, I think we called it. And what was interesting was one of the beautiful people in that activation actually started to see with, you know, DMT like energies, so seeing out of their third eye. So it is really interesting, even if we just look into the name, 3IAtlas as well, whether this is telling us you guys need to perceive this, you know, from the third eye. Don't look at it from receiving information just from like a local level too, or what you're being predicted or, you know, charaded in. And I just want to say thank you guys for hitting the likes and hitting the subscribes on both of our channels. We so appreciate that. And yeah, Jake and I were really excited to see, and Corbin, to see this video reach so many people, or the last one that we did with this session. So if you guys are liking this kind of content when we're talking about things that are a little bit more in the mainstream or kind of affecting us on, I don't want to say the word global, we'll say realm level, then yeah, just let us know, hit that thumbs up, because it does help us to know what sort of content you guys want to see too. And yeah, Emma, this is so beautiful. I forgot to mention this too. So when we look into the back part of your skull or brain, it's more the atlas sort of sits. So say we've got the spine, then you've got like the base of the skull is sort of the atlas. And what's interesting is sometimes you'll have different parts of the body that match up. So, you know, with the atlas, sometimes you'll get destabilization connected to do with the hips, which is our gates and walking into the world. It's sort of like how we map ourselves through the 3D. But if things are jammed, or you've got even like restricted blood flow and things within the atlas too, and in the cranials, we can't think or function or even breathe and sleep normally. So it's really, really interesting. Other thing that I'd connected to was Atlas, the Greek god too, holding up that world, you know, on his back. So there's a few interesting things when we look at it, but yeah, there is specific chiropractic and kinesiologist treatments that work specifically with the atlas. It's literally the cradle that's one of the most important things. And Corbin, you might be able to talk more on that with family that's connected, you know, as chiropractors. Is there anything you guys are feeling to share or say? I see 33 in the chat, one of my favorite numbers.
Well, I don't know about Corbin, but I want us to play clip 11 before we go, because you were talking about the activating our auric field, and I don't know if you remember what your higher self said at the end there, but it was sort of the advice around what we can do to facilitate disclosure, facilitate more of the opening between us and what's beyond, and the beings beyond who do want to engage with us. So I think that's really interesting. We should get there, but I don't know if you have anything to add.
Yeah,
that's great. Let's do it. I love the clips.
Cool.
So which one was it? Did you say?
I was clip 11.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I was curious around that, if there would be, if we'd be seeing any sort of disclosure on either an individual level or maybe more of a larger scale as this object approaches.
We will begin to see more ships in the sky. And for the ones of a positive nature, it's the more that we can free ourselves from the debris and density of the negative agendas and fears and negative heavy emotions and inner conflict and fight within our souls and our auric bodies, the more that we can create auric light density and occupy our own space and our own auric bodies, the more that we will have visitation and the more that we will be in contact with our star brothers and sisters. We need to have inner authority and take up our own space, activate what some would call aura or Merkaba light body. So we need to wash it of heavier toxicity, thought forms and emotions, and occupy that space again. It's like you're becoming a radiant light when you do that. And that's also when you have more sightings, because they come in to check out what the light show is happening down here. It helps us to step into a higher frequency. We're like little lights coming on a radar is the way they're showing me. So that's what we can do in preparation. So cleanses with salt, pranic healing is also especially really good for this. and meditation, yoga, stilling and calming of the mind, especially the monkey mind, and separation from duality. Pause, take a step back, separate from heaviness and from shock, and connect into your own energy field. Do not allow yourself to be taken over from fear or negative agenda, or from hate or any of those other vile energies, division. It should be, when we see things like this, a flag to come back to oneness from within and oneness with source. Realizing that we are God enclosed in physical, human, 3D bodies.
So I'm curious if there is any guidance that you have for.
And thank you so much for putting these clips together. I think they're just so great to showcase little snippets. And I'll bring up a picture for those that are wanting to know what the atlas looks like. Let me just bring this up. So this is the pic that I thought, let me just see if I can touch on this one here. I don't know if you guys can see my little mouse highlighting this one in particular. You can see how it sort of sits. So we've got that at C1. So it's that little cradle that you've got the skull sort of, sitting near the top of that. And yeah, there's quite a few. What's interesting is holographically, sometimes you'll get some bones that look similar, or there's certain geometries and things. To me, this one kind of looks a little bit like a portal, but it also reminds me of the larynx and of the throat chakra too. So I'm like, okay, there's mercurial looking kind of throat energy that also like interweaves somehow with this. But yeah, it's a really important one. If we don't have this balanced, it can really throw out the whole system. So yeah, it's cradling that higher form of consciousness, or our computer, our brain. So yeah, just want to show that so people knew visually what it was that we were talking about. And Quadriplet is saying, Hopi prophecy talked about blue star Kachina, which yeah, that's the prophecy that we maybe will dive deeper into, I think, in a part 2. So let's have a look into the cards as well and just see if there's any more information that is coming through for our soul tribe in particular around this whole thing. Because I really feel that, with our community, we're very much working together. And a lot of the shows are around getting information for our soul tribe in particular. And I just, before closing my eyes, saw 4 of Swords, which is meditation. And then I saw the Destiny card, Wheel of Fortune, which for me is alignment. And it sometimes represents a shift in consciousness. So already we're getting a message being told to meditate, to shift our consciousness more into the realm or into the outcome of what it is that we desire. So just asking first for some more kind of like baseline information. So I'm going to feel into this before I flip them over. Okay, so what I'm being shown looks to be more kind of like the darkness of space, and just this energy, I guess, gravitating, moving, coming in. But what I'm sort of seeing is, it's interesting. It's just kind of dark, and it's sort of like a rock type energy. But I'm sort of feeling there's like the human observation of it too. And sorry if the chainsaw is a little bit loud. With this, I'm sort of seeing like the human observation of it, like a little bit separate in a way. So let me just feel into this. We'll flip them over and see what we have. Okay, this is very interesting. This card represents more kind of like ET, UFO type energy. And what we see is interesting because this card with the 10 of Cups, it's a card of like wishes coming into fulfillment. It's, oh, there's a bird just coming. And for me, with this beautiful rose, this is like higher consciousness. It's Mary Magdalene type energy and Christ consciousness, Christos type energy. But look at the other thing. We're being tried to have that separation or that separateness, or I guess like, shown that, okay, it's a rock, or I'm just kept seeing like a disconnect, or where they were trying to keep us like separated from it. So we've got the 9 of Swords. Interesting that this card was the card that came up throughout the whole scandemic situation. So this came up to do with like news, came up to do with negative agenda. We're in this place now where we're being asked to go into the space of the heart. So this green heart chakra clothing that this Princess of Swords is in, and we see her almost bamboozled and in this fighting this intellect, fighting this yellow energy, this mental energy, anxiety even. Nine of Swords too is sometimes like where we have this heavy kind of projection or smog onto us, and we can't think or see outside of that information or that mental mindset. What we're being asked to do is Queen of Disc. So Queen of Disc, I'm just hearing spirit say we need to turn the tides. So I feel that this is almost like manually, they keep showing me this almost like switching a track to move the water or the consciousness and current in a different direction. So yeah, and I see Colleen saying my anxiety is through the roof today, and that's the state that they're trying to keep us in. And maybe this is also in alignment with spirit really telling me to get off the phone today and to just notice like frequency wise how you're feeling holding these things. And I did a post last night just saying how many others are getting hit with electrical zaps coming off their devices, because I was getting them come through my phone, I was getting it come through the laptop here, the laptop at my partner's work. So I'm like, okay, it's not just my home, it's not just one device. So I do think that there's other frequencies that are maybe being sent through some devices and things at the moment too. So try and get off your phones at the moment if you can. But this is also a really beautiful card because for me, the Queen of Discs, she operates in the quantum. So we see this beautiful flower of life type sphere. We see the consciousness and the pine cone with the horns attuned to being brought or to receiving higher broadcast or higher information downloads. And we see the Merkaba inside of the cube. Now, Merkaba is our light body as well. So this is something we were working and activating the other week. With this too, this card for me is always about perceiving and holding that state on a quantum level that we wish to manifest. So Emery is also saying, hold your power and your crystals. Yeah.
Good advice.
The crystal for this week in the reading was that giant slab of rose quartz, which literally fits over the heart chakra. So I would say specifically, if you guys have rose quartz or you're working with crystals, definitely ones that are in alignment with heart chakra. And yeah, I can just see a few other messages. Yeah, good idea to keep your phone out of the room at night, definitely. And yeah, I can see others also just having comments. Let me just see if there is another one that I had to read. Nodding dog, nodding dog saying, during my nightly blessings to the cosmos in the last week, I have observed 2 white light flashes, which expressing my divine love for mankind. That is a really, really beautiful message. Yeah. What do you guys think of the message in the cards? Anything sort of coming into alignment for the two of you?
I just keep wanting to toss it to you because I feel like there's more astrology to share, but we will have to have a part 2. I mean, you guys don't need a bag. Don't worry. We'll come back.
Yeah. I think there's a lot in the astrology right now that does even speak to the resurgence of the light body and growing the light body again. This was something that I touched on in our full moon video for the Aries full moon that's going on right now. Happy full moon, everyone.
Happy full moon.
But, you know, since 2018, we have been healing our bodies in a new and different kind of way. Chiron has been in the sign of Aries since 2018. If we think about Chiron being the wounded healer, it's where you take the wounds and you also have the salve for the healing. And throughout, you know, the last handful of years, there's definitely some programs to challenge the light body. Some things that happened throughout 2020 that would have degraded the body. And I think for a lot of us who are on the spiritual mission, there's a lot to say about how we've been activating and growing the light body. And so the ways that the closest pass between 3IAtlas and Earth happens on the Sagittarius full moon, where there is a beautiful trine from Mercury and the moon and the sun, all in Sagittarius, to Chiron. And I see 3IAtlas when it's coming closest in as this opportunity for us to be, just as the cards were saying, really letting go and clearing out of some of that negative programming and really leaning back into that light body. And there's just such a huge kind of like exclamation point around the Sagittarius full moon this year in the middle of December.
Oh, it's so fascinating with the astrology. And I think on part 2, if we can maybe get your insights, I saw something posted the other day. I haven't checked out more to do with it, but apparently there was meant to be like a planet-sized object, I think 2 times bigger than Jupiter, that is now coming in. So I would have to check, or whether that was just a post. But I did have a vision around that in 2020 of what looked to be like a giant Jupiter-like planet coming in. And then I saw a door open up with a metal stairwell and a being that looked like an Anunnaki type being coming out of it. So I think there's going to be so many different things that we can dive into in the second part. But I just also want to pop up. So if you guys are looking for a session with Corbin, and I know some of our beautiful soul tribe just traveled recently to come have a session with you in person. So I thought that was so beautiful seeing the photo of you guys together. Do you want to maybe speak about your sessions, and Corbin, if there's a way that people can contact you too for astrology, like whether you're working with that yet with people or more just for the shows? We'd love to hear.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start out. If you want to click into my bookings too, I am doing 10% off of my past life sessions. So that's higher guidance, quantum healing hypnosis technique, or just past life regression. So if you guys are interested in exploring your past lives, and I do have the group workshop coming up at the end of the month as well. So October is past lives month for me. I'm really focusing on that, talking about that in my shows. So if you guys are interested and want to explore your past lives, if that's been something that's been on your mind, but you maybe haven't taken the plunge, this is the month to do it, because I'm doing 10% off. And then the workshop as well, if you're not ready for a one-on-one session, but you still want to get a taste of it, want to explore your past lives, I'm going to do a past life workshop at the end of the month as well on the 25th. So you can click into that as well if you are interested. Because if you guys haven't experienced hypnosis, it is one of the best ways to connect with you and to, we've been talking about accessing your own answers and your own knowing. In my humble opinion, I think hypnosis is the best way to do that, is helping you to access your inner knowing, your higher self, that knowledge from past lifetimes as well as this one. So hope to see you guys.
Oh, awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And how about you, Corbin? What's the best way that people can reach you?
Yeah, I mean, you can catch me on Jake's channel occasionally doing our Lunar Cycles show. My books are currently closed right now, but by the time we have part 2, my books will be open. If you're very, very anxious, maybe you can send a DM or something and we can work something out. But like I said, by the time we have part 2, I'm sure my books will be back open at that time.
Oh, awesome. Well, I'm sure that you're going to have a flooding once they're opened as well. Let me just pop up. I just want to share with you guys as well.
And I saw the question from Colleen. I don't have dates in front of me. I think it's maybe December 18th, 19th, 20th, somewhere around there. So yeah, that's
okay.
Timing.
Oh, thank you for that. And I just want to remind you guys that we do have sessions available. Actually, I've got one left for tomorrow. If anyone wants to sneak in last minute, there is one booking available. So we've got Psychic Tarot and Galactic, which are the most popular, as well as we also have the couple sessions now available on there. And for potions, we have the online event. I haven't put it up. I usually put it up not long before, but we will have the new moon in Libra, which will be October 21st, will be the next online event where we're going to group chat on Zoom, meditate, do some kinesiology or some pranic healing together, things of that sort of nature to help us shift on that quantum level, helping forge new identities around our manifestations. And the best way to purchase or to receive a ticket to that is to buy the bundle. You can even just purchase one potion if you like to get the invitation, but most people do tend to purchase the bundle as well, just to experience each of the different flavors. And I just also want to say thank you to you guys too for all of the likes, the shares, subscribes, and thank you to you, Jacob, and also to Corbin for coming on the show and our amazing soul tribe. And I can see John here as well. I'm sending you
Johnny, hey Lisa, sending you guys love.
Yeah, and healing vibes as well. Hope you're doing well. But yeah, we love you guys and we can't wait to bring you part 2. Thank you so much, Jacob and Corbin.
Thank you, Sol, as well. Always appreciate you, and it's a joy working with you, and always fun to, again, debrief these as well, because there's so much that comes up in the session. Like, how can you not want to talk about it afterwards, right?
Well, and so fun to get on and talk about it, because I know often when we're watching sessions, I'm like, oh, Jake. I mean, this is everything. And so, yeah, it's really fun to share the astrological perspective. Someone was saying about, you know, the same information coming in through a different lens. I think astrology is just another tool where we can help find that same common information. So yeah, it's really awesome.
Yeah. Oh, and I can see Carol saying Jake's QHHT was a wonderful experience. Highly recommend it. So thank you, everyone. And yeah, it's so lovely to get a different perspective, and even our group perspective too. So let us know maybe in the comments after this show has finished, if you guys leave some of your questions, and then we can even recap and include some of them in part 2. So have a wonderful night. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you all.